यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivajakaacharya Stotara Shata Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya saved the whole world. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge, text number 23. Yepi anya devata bhakta yajante shraddhayanvitaah tepi mam eva kaunteya yajanti avidhi purvakam. Word for meaning. Ye, those, api, also, anya, other, devata, demigods, bhaktaha, devotees, yajante, worship, shraddhaya, anvitaha, with faith, te, they, api, also, mam, eva, mam, me, eva, even, Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, yajanti, sacrifice, avidhi purvakam, in a wrong way. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: whatever a man may sacrifice to other gods, O son of Kunti, is really meant for me alone, but it is offered without true understanding. Please repeat the translation. Whatever a man may sacrifice to other gods, O son of Kunti, is really meant for me alone, but it is offered without true understanding. Purport: persons who are engaged in the worship of demigods are not very intelligent, although such worship is done to me indirectly. Krishna says, for example, when a man pours water on the leaves and branches of a tree without pouring water on the root, he does so without sufficient knowledge or without observing regulative principles. Similarly, the process of rendering service to different parts of the body is to supply food to the stomach. The demigods are, so to speak, different officers and directors in the government of the Supreme Lord. One has to follow the laws made by the government, not by the officers or directors. Similarly, everyone is to offer his worship to the Supreme Lord only. That will automatically satisfy the different officers and directors of the Lord. The officers and directors are engaged as representatives of the government, and to offer some bribe to the officers and directors is illegal. This is stated here as avidhi purvakam. In other words, Krishna does not approve the unnecessary worship of the demigods. Thus ends the Bhakti in the pulpit. Om Agyantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaura Vani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is the chapter most confidential knowledge, 9th chapter. So Krishna is speaking this knowledge to Arjuna. This knowledge is called confidential knowledge. In the first verse of this chapter, Krishna says to Arjuna that because you are not envious of me, I am speaking you this most confidential knowledge. Idam tu te guyyatamam pravakshami anusuyave. So Krishna is speaking this confidential knowledge to Arjuna because Arjuna is not envious of him. So that's why this knowledge is confidential. Means it cannot be understood by people who are envious of Krishna. So in this verse, Krishna is telling Arjuna that whatever a man may sacrifice to other gods, yepi anya devata bhakta, O son of Kunti, is really meant for me alone. So people worship many demigods. And Krishna is telling here that actually whatever sacrifice is performed to various demigods is actually meant for me alone, is meant for Krishna alone. But so Krishna is actually not approving of the worship of various demigods. So, person may ask why people are worshipping demigods. So that is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna says in the 7th chapter that people who are having material desires, Kamaistesya Rita Jnana Prapadyante Anya Devata. Those who are having material desires and who have lost their intelligence. So such people worship the various demigods. So the worship of demigods is actually not a very intelligent thing according to Krishna. Why it is not intelligent? Because Krishna is the root of everything. So just like when we offer the water to the root of a tree, the whole tree will get its nourishment. So we do not need to offer the water on the different parts, the leaves and the branches. Simply by offering water to the root, the entire tree gets its nourishment. The same way, simply if we offer sacrifice to Krishna or we worship Krishna, Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai, Nitai Gurung ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So simply if we worship Krishna with the right understanding, if we simply understand Krishna's position and the position of the different devatas and the living entities, then we can worship Krishna with proper regulative principle. So according to the scriptures, actually Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in the Vedic scriptures, there is also worship of devatas given in the various scriptures. So actually worship is recommended for Krishna alone. But why there is worship of different devatas in the Vedas also? That is because just like a person, he is prohibited to drink alcohol. So the government has opened liquor shops. So the government has opened liquor shops. So this is not actually to allow people to drink unrestrictedly. It is actually to restrict them from drinking. So that's why there are authorized liquor shops in the city, so that people will drink in a restricted way. Because people cannot control their senses. So, because the material energy is so powerful that people are so controlled by the lust and greed. They cannot control. So that's why there is recommendations in the scriptures also allowing these things to be done. So just like even the meat eating is actually not sanctioned. It is not approved. It is a sinful activity. But according to Vedas, you can eat meat in a regulated way. So it is recommended that if someone wants to eat meat, he should worship the goddess Kali and offer a sacrifice a goat to the goddess Kali, and then he can eat the meat. So in this way, when there is a regulative way of eating meat or having liquor, whatever, the person can gradually be elevated. So that's why the different recommendation of demigods is also given in the scriptures, Vedic scriptures. But the first class worship is of worship of Vishnu or Krishna. But because people cannot directly come to worship of Krishna, so there's a gradual elevation for people to progress in the spiritual path. So that's why Krishna is telling that I am the only, actually in the next verse Krishna says that I am the only enjoyer. Aham hi sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhur eva cha. Actually I am the only enjoyer of all the sacrifices. So actually Krishna's position is that he is a supreme controller. There is no controller above him, there is no controller even equal to him. He is called Asam Maurdhva, means no one equal to him or no one greater than him. So the different demigods are actually, they are also controllers, but they are different controllers in the material universal management. So they have given a particular responsibility. They are controlling some material affairs like the rain, the wind, the sunlight, the all the natural whatever we are getting from the nature. There are controllers. So it is not recommended to worship the different devatas independently. Just like we are paying tax to the government, we don't pay tax individually to the different departments, ministers or so the same way, when we worship Krishna, actually all the devatas also get their satisfaction. So we need not independently try to satisfy the different devatas. So actually the worship of devatas is only for satisfying material desires. It is not for the spiritual purpose. So what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita is that actually worship of devatas is not a very intelligent thing. Why? Because the satisfaction, the different devatas, the desires which the devatas fulfill of ours, they are actually limited and temporary. Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavati alpamedasam. So the fruits which the devatas give us are limited and temporary. So it is no real benefit running after pleasures which are temporary. So the intelligent person will seek for pleasures which is not temporary but permanent or eternal. So that's why when we worship Krishna, performing everything for his satisfaction, we get happiness or pleasure which is unending. So that's why it is recommended that everything should be offered to Krishna in sacrifice. And worship of Krishna is the only recommended thing to be done. And so one more thing is that the by worshipping devatas, the person is elevated to the heavenly planets. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yanti Deva Vrita Devan Pitra Yanti Pitra Vrita. Like those who worship devatas, they go to the planets of the devatas. Those who worship forefathers, they go to the planets of the forefathers. So like this, whoever we are worshipping, we can be transported to the particular planets of the devatas or planets of the forefathers. It is not that if you worship any god, the destination is the same. So many people think that you can worship any devata because all are same. So that is the wrong understanding people have. People think that the ultimate absolute truth is impersonal. So you can worship any devata and the result will be the same, the goal will be the same. But that is not true. Because the devatas are personalities and they have their particular planets. Like the devatas are not imaginary forms, they are actual personalities, like Brahma or Shiva or Ganesha or Indra. These are actual personalities. They are not just imaginary forms. But the impersonal philosophers, they think that absolute truth is Brahman, one supreme Brahman, which is formless, which has no form, no variegatedness, just one supreme energy. So that is not according to Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures. So Krishna also has his supreme planet, Krishna Loka or Goloka Vrindavana it's called. So Krishna says that those who worship me attain to my supreme planet. And what is the benefit of worshipping Krishna? That Krishna says, one who reaches my abode, supreme abode, he doesn't again return to this temporary material world. This material world is temporary and it is full of suffering. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Doshanu, Darshanam. Birth, old age, disease and death. These are the sufferings of material life. So these sufferings are there even in the planets of the devatas. In the planets of the demigods also, these sufferings are found. So that's why even if you go to the planets of the devatas, you cannot live there permanently. You are, after your pious credit is over, you will be again transported back to this world, to this earth planet. So it is like, you're going on a Ferris wheel. You go up and again you come down. Again you go up, again you come down. So this cycle is going on again and again. This is called repeated birth and death. So actually we are changing bodies life after life. Continuously we are changing bodies. Sometimes we are going to the higher planets, sometimes we are going to the lower planets, sometimes we are going taking birth on this earth planet. So this is going on again and again. But when we surrender to Krishna, become Krishna's devotee, and engage in his devotional service by chanting, by hearing, this way we become purified of all contamination, all material desires, become free from all unwanted desires, and we awaken our original loving relationship with Krishna, and we can again return to the eternal abode of Krishna, never again to return to this temporary material world. So that's why Krishna says, simply surrender to me, become my devotee, and come back to me. That is the real message of Bhagavad Gita. So we'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.